Madness in Gotham. The night fell heavy over Gotham City, its streets shrouded in a blanket of fog as neon signs flickered faintly against rain-slicked alleyways. At first, the incidents seemed disjointed and ordinary for Gotham's standards. Citizens breaking into inexplicable arguments in public spaces, harmless acts of vandalism escalating into property destruction, and eerie bursts of laughter echoing through neighborhoods where silence once prevailed. But by the third day, the erratic behaviors grew into a cacophony of chaos. Commissioner James Gordon leaned over his cluttered desk at GCPD headquarters, his brow furrowed as he sifted through a growing pile of reports. First, the shouting match at City Hall, he muttered to Detective Bullock, seated across from him. Then the brawl near Robinson Park, and now inmates rioting at Blackgate without reason. Something connects all of this. Bullock, as skeptical as ever, took a dismissive bite of his donut. People in this city have been losing their marbles for years, Comish. What's new? But Gordon's instincts gnawed at him. He knew Gotham's chaos was rarely random, and this felt like the handiwork of a meticulous mind. Picking up the red phone on his desk, he dialed a direct line to the one man he knew could find clarity in the madness: Batman. Meanwhile, in the sprawling depths of the Batcave, Bruce Wayne stood before the glowing console of his supercomputer, eyes scanning a stream of footage and police reports projected on the wall. The incidents weren't isolated, they formed a pattern. Alfred approached, a tray of tea balanced in his hands. "I presume the peculiar uptick in Gotham's lunacy has caught your attention, sir." Alfred's dry wit offered a momentary reprieve, but Bruce remained focused. "Too many cases in too short a time," he said, his voice measured. "It's not a coincidence. Someone's orchestrating this." As he delved deeper into the data, his thoughts were interrupted by the unmistakable glow of the bat signal piercing the night sky. Within moments, the Batmobile roared to life, its engine echoing through the underground chamber before launching into the labyrinthine streets of Gotham. When Batman arrived at police headquarters, Gordon wasted no time bringing him up to speed. "The water plant," Gordon began, handing over a preliminary report. "One of the technicians found residue of some kind of powder in the filtration system. Lab results came back this afternoon. It's psychoactive. Low levels, but enough to influence behavior if consumed over time." Batman scanned the document with a grim expression. "If the water's contaminated, Gotham's entire population is at risk. The question is whether this is a random act of sabotage or part of a larger plan." Gordon nodded gravely. "We haven't traced the source yet, but if this keeps escalating..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Batman had already made his decision. "I'll investigate the plant," he said, disappearing into the night as quickly as he had arrived. The Gotham Water Authority, located on the outskirts of the city, loomed like a fortress of steel and concrete, its massive filtration tanks and twisting pipes forming an industrial maze. Batman moved silently through the shadows, his cape blending with the darkness as he slipped past the perimeter guards. Inside, the facility buzzed with the hum of machinery, the rhythmic sounds masking his footsteps. His investigation began at the filtration tanks, where the psychoactive powder had been discovered. With a precise hand, he collected samples of residue, analyzing them on site using the portable lab built into his utility belt. The results confirmed what Gordon had reported. The substance was a potent mind-altering agent, derived from a rare fungal compound. But there was something else. Traces of chemicals used in synthetic processing, a hallmark of an advanced laboratory operation. As Batman scanned the area for further clues, he noticed something out of place. A small, intricately carved hat pin embedded in the floor near the control panel. It was unmistakable, a calling card left by Jervis Tetch, better known as the Mad Hatter. Jervis Tetch had always been a brilliant yet unstable mind. His obsession with Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland fueling his descent into criminal madness. His previous schemes involved direct mind control through technological devices, but this new approach was far more insidious. By lacing Gotham's water supply with his compound, he could manipulate the entire city from the inside out, turning its citizens into unwitting pawns. Batman's jaw tightened as he pieced together the implications. Tetch had evolved his methods, and Gotham was his new wonderland. As if on cue, the city's television stations were hijacked that evening, broadcasting a cryptic message from the Mad Hatter. Dressed in his signature oversized hat and Victorian attire, Tetch stood before a backdrop of swirling patterns, his voice dripping with theatrical malice. "Dear citizens of Gotham," he began, "how delightful it is to see you embrace the madness. Your free will has been such a tiresome burden, hasn't it? But fear not, for I, your humble hatter, shall relieve you of that weight. Soon all of Gotham will dance to my tune, and even the Dark Knight will find himself lost in the maze of my design. Surrender, Batman, or watch as your precious city succumbs to Wonderland's embrace." The broadcast plunged Gotham into a frenzy, with citizens panicking as they realized their erratic behaviors were not isolated incidents, but part of a larger, sinister plot. In the Batcave, Bruce and Alfred worked tirelessly to track the origin of the broadcast signal. "The compound's distribution is centralized," Bruce noted, studying a map of Gotham's water supply system. "If we can find where Tetch is injecting the substance, we can shut it down before the entire city is compromised." Alfred, ever the voice of reason, added, "And perhaps locate the Good Hatter before his delusions spiral further out of control." Bruce nodded. "If we don't stop him now, Gotham may not recover." With the Batmobile's advanced tracking systems, Batman followed the flow of tainted water to an industrial district near the Narrows. The area was riddled with abandoned warehouses and chemical plants, perfect cover for Tetch's operations. As he approached one of the larger warehouses, his sensors detected heightened activity inside. Mind-controlled henchmen patrolled the perimeter, their glassy-eyed stares and mechanical movements betraying their lack of autonomy. Batman disabled them with precision, using non-lethal tactics to ensure they could be freed once Tetch's influence was neutralized. Inside the warehouse, the scene was like something out of a twisted fairy tale. Giant teacups and oversized chess pieces decorated the space, their surfaces painted with swirling patterns that seemed to move when viewed too long. At the center of the room stood the Mad Hatter himself, surrounded by vats of the psychoactive compound being funneled into Gotham's water system. "Ah, the guest of honor has arrived," Tetch exclaimed, tipping his hat with a flourish. "Do you like my wonderland, Batman? I've worked ever so hard to make it perfect." "Tetch," Batman growled, his voice low and menacing. "This ends now." "On the contrary," Tetch replied, his eyes gleaming with madness. "It's just beginning." With a snap of his fingers, more mind-controlled henchmen emerged from the shadows, armed with weapons designed to incapacitate rather than kill. Batman fought his way through them, his movements precise and calculated, but the air grew thick with a fine mist, Tetch's compound in aerosol form. The longer Batman fought, the harder it became to focus. The warehouse began to warp around him, the oversized props twisting into grotesque shapes. Tetch's voice echoed through the haze. "What's the matter, dear knight? Feeling a bit lost in my labyrinth?" Batman's vision blurred as the compound took hold, plunging him into a nightmarish hallucination. He found himself in a surreal version of Gotham, where the streets were lined with card soldiers and the sky swirled with impossible colors. Tetch appeared before him, larger than life, his laughter ringing out like a cacophony. "This is my world now, Batman," he taunted. "A place where logic and reason crumble, and only madness reigns." But Batman's will was unyielding. Drawing on his years of training and mental discipline, he focused on a single grounding thought: his mission to protect Gotham. He activated a countermeasure in his cowl, releasing a burst of air to filter out the compound. The hallucinations began to fade, and reality snapped back into focus. Tetch's expression shifted from triumph to panic as Batman advanced on him, his determination unshaken. "You think you can control Gotham," Batman said, his voice a steely growl. "You're nothing but a delusional tyrant hiding behind a fantasy." With a final, desperate move, Tetch attempted to activate an emergency release valve, planning to flood the water system with the remaining compound. But Batman was faster, disarming him with a well-aimed batarang before delivering a decisive blow that left Tetch unconscious. As the police arrived to secure the scene, Batman worked with Gordon to neutralize the compound in the water supply. "We got lucky this time," Gordon said, watching as technicians flushed the system with an antidote. "But what if there's a next time?" "There won't be," Batman replied, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Tetch is going back to Arkham, and Gotham will be ready for whatever comes next." That night, as the city slowly returned to normal, Bruce Wayne sat in the Batcave, reflecting on the events. Alfred approached, placing a cup of tea beside him. "Another crisis averted, sir," Alfred said. "Though I imagine the Mad Hatter will not be content to remain idle for long." Bruce nodded. "Gotham's villains are relentless, but so am I." And with that, the Dark Knight prepared for whatever challenges awaited him, knowing that as long as he stood watch, Gotham would endure.